Hello, and welcome to the Millennial Nutritionist Podcast. I'm Isla Garcia, master's degree of nutrition science and registered dietitian, and I'm going to make weight loss realistic, sustainable, and uncomplicated for your busy lifestyle. On this podcast, me and my team of registered dietitians will decipher the latest nutrition research, dissect fad diets, and discuss social media trends for you so you can feel confident knowing what to eat to achieve your health goals. Research suggests that most weight loss programs aren't successful, but my experience has taught me that this is not because the participants aren't committed. It's because those diets are designed by non-nutrition professionals and center around severe restrictions. We are here to provide the facts about the science of weight loss so you can have the success you want and continue living your best life. Hello, this episode will actually be audio only because I accidentally forgot to record the video part of myself. My bad, I'll try to be better next time. But this episode is actually kind of a part two to a previous podcast episode, which was episode 75. This was the arthritis episode with my friend Vi, who is a physician's assistant. So you should already know what she looks like because that episode was pretty recent. We were talking before the episode about how nutrition is really related to surgery and surgical outcomes in her job. So we decided to separate the two topics into arthritis and then the surgery part. So today's episode is going to be about how healthy nutrition and body weight can better prepare you for surgery and improve your surgical outcomes. This topic may seem kind of niche, but I want to continue to record episodes to show how nutrition really does affect everything. I think we often think everything in health is disconnected, like surgery's over here, doctors are over here, nutrition is over here, but it really isn't like that. Everything is related. Having a healthy body weight can make you feel more confident for sure, but it can also just help you to breathe better during surgery, which is an example we'll talk about today. I hope this episode further inspires you to care for yourself, but also helps you to appreciate what your body does for you and how important it is to feed it what it needs so it can actually take care of you during things like surgery. Thank you so much for joining us again today, Vi. How have you been doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. So we're doing kind of a part two today because when Vi and I were talking before, we thought that there was a lot to get into just with the nitty-gritties of surgery that I didn't realize. So that we didn't have to make that episode 2 hours long. Today we're going to kind of talk about that a little bit, but it's been a couple of weeks since we talked. So any new like wellness habits or any foods that you've been loving recently that other people can get inspired by?
I think that I've been more mindful of when you sometimes you'll work out and kind of punish yourself thinking, oh, I only did like these 2 things, or I only did these 3 things. But I mean, at least I went on the walk, or at least I went to the gym. So I'm trying to like punish myself less for those kind of things and having less expectations. Cause we all go to work, we all do these things, and we still bring ourselves to go to the gym or eat like a little bit healthier that day. So I think I'm trying to be less mean to myself about it.
That's so nice. I didn't realize you were mean to yourself.
Do you not do that? Is that just me?
No, but I guess I always seem like from the outside looking in, it always seemed like you had like your fitness life so much together. It seemed like you had like no
I
doubts.
feel like it's just, you just get really hard on yourself. Like when you do things for so long, like, why didn't I do 20 extra minutes of this or blah, blah, or like I skipped a workout just because the machine was taken and then I went home.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I've been like in a weird exercise rut. I don't know, for like a while, I feel like I basically just like go in and like go through the motions. But like you said, I feel like I just am like, that's like better than just like not going at all. Like I really haven't increased the weights that I've lifted in probably a year. I'm like, maybe
oh my God.
Like,
I know.
Yeah. But it's like, at what point do you just
work
not?
out by yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you feel like that's it?
I feel like, well, that's what happened to me, even though like I enjoy working out by myself.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you're not with someone, you're like, I'm just going to go home because nobody knows that I didn't do this.
That's true. I know.
Like,
I've been watching these like exercise videos and I'll just be like, I'm just going to sit here for like 10 minutes of this video and then I'll just watch the rest of it and do more of it later. So
yeah, like I'll watch a workout video to just enough to inspire myself, but not enough to like feel bad about myself.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, a food that I have been loving, another really basic one is berries. I think we're about to get back into berry season. And so like I went to Aldi just now and like all the raspberries were like $1.50. I was like, thank the Lord, because $4 berries are not it. And so I will like eat a whole thing of raspberries just like by itself, or I love putting it in like cereal for like a fun dessert. Are you like a berry person? I don't even know.
That's so funny. I've been trying to be more mindful about fruits too.
Okay.
My hospital for some reason today had a bunch of grapefruit, like the red ones and the white ones, I guess.
Wow.
I know. And then also there's something about grapefruit that when you eat it, you know that like tiny little bitter taste? Like I feel like it
Mm.
just feels healthy.
Do you
It's
put
like
sugar on it or you just eat it raw?
no, I just eat it. I don't know if what like it came already pre-sliced, so I might have already, you know, how it
Oh.
probably had like syrup or something on it. I'm really not sure.
Yeah, I never know
But
how to eat grapefruit, but I always want to because it's on sale a lot, but I don't know how to eat it. And I'm like, I don't want to just put sugar on it because that's all I've seen like people on TV do.
oh, you know what? I just bought a bunch of cotton candy grapes.
Oh, yeah. You like them?
Yeah, they were on sale at, Sam's Club or something. I mean, but, you know, at, like, those kind of stores, you can only get, like, 4 pounds of it, so
Right.
I've been eating it for, like, 3 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another thing I've been doing, not nutrition related, but just, like, I guess, a new thing I've been reading, as in I started
What?
one single book. I know.
Okay, wait, give it to me because I've been
Uh,
trying to read more too lately.
it's called Crying in H Mart.
Oh, okay. I've seen that. Is it good?
Have you heard of it?
Yeah.
I have a, like, a shared Amazon account, and then so, like, with some of my family, so I put it in the cart, but then it said somebody else had already bought it. So then anyway, like, a bunch of people I know have already read it, and basically do you know what the premise is, or have you read it at all?
No.
Not to give too much away, but basically the author is a half American, half Korean girl,
Mm.
and, she basically just talks about how food kind of connects you to people in your family and just, like, people of your past. You know, like, for me, I also grew up, when I moved out, I called my mom, like, "Oh, what kind of this do we, like, buy?" Or "What did we usually use to, like, cook with this?"
Yeah.
Or so it just kinda talks about how you're connected with your family through food.
So it's not like a novel. Is it like nonfiction or like a memoir?
It is a memoir. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Also, somebody told me it was gonna be really sad, and then I read the beginning, I was like, that's okay," and then it did get really sad.
Oh, dang. Okay, no, I
Yeah.
definitely wanna read that. I've been trying to read, but I keep reading these, like, really light novels that, like, everybody likes, and I'm trying to figure out, like, some, like, deeper novels, so or, like, books, so I'll have to add that to the list.
Yeah.
But we can dive in. So our kind of, like, warm up pop culture article, is this article about My 600-Pound Life, which I don't watch, and I don't think you watch either, right?
I've seen some of it. I don't, like, watch it religiously or anything, but I've probably seen, like, some of an episode-ish.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like I see the highlights on, like, TikTok, but,
Yeah, yeah.
this article is from February, and I thought it was relevant to both of us. My 600-Pound Life star Mark Rutland rejects doctor's advice to get surgery despite his weight being torture. So I think he's a little, like, over 700 pounds, 715 pounds, and he's supposed to lose a whole bunch of weight. He's, I guess, trying to lose 500 pounds naturally. It seems like everybody in this article wants him to have the surgery from the doctor to his family, and he's lost over 100, I think 160 so far, which I thought was quite a bit, but it seems like everybody in this article is making it seem like that's really not good and that he really needs to get the surgery, which I don't work with people who are this heavy, so I don't know what the other implications are. Like if 160 still isn't a lot to that group of people, then I get it. But his last quote, I want to read it because I thought it was sweet. He said, all these people are trying to convince him to get the surgery. And he says, I know, but I'm going to get the opportunity to see what I'm made of right now. And that's more valuable. I think that's great. I mean, I support
I know,
anybody
I
who's trying
really
to,
like it.
I know, trying to lose weight on their own first. And I'd have to watch the episode to understand if there's more to why they all want him to get the surgery. But what did you kind of think
Yeah.
about the article?
The only thing I would think is, like, if he's at some sort of medical risk for something, like,
Oh,
if, like, he just has a lot of, like, cardiovascular, like, risk right now, that if he does do the surgery right now, then he would mitigate some of his, I don't know, whatever he's in danger of, but I do wonder, like, why they want him to do it right now. It probably just doesn't give us enough detail in this, article.
yeah. Cause I was thinking like to already lose 160 pounds, like I feel like that's a lot. And like there's got to be some good behavior change in that. It's not just, I could understand if you only lost like 10 pounds, then I'd be like, I could understand. But 160 is like quite a bit. I know you're not a bariatric surgeon, which is a whole other thing. But
Right.
why, with your experience in general, like why do you think somebody wouldn't want to get bariatric surgery? Or just like, can you speak to like why
Yeah.
wouldn't somebody want to get surgery in general?
I think surgery in general, like there's no surgery that comes without risk, right? Like whenever anyone like at work or in my clinic, whenever they sign up for surgery, I always give them like preface them with like, look, you like are signing up for surgery and there's, you know, whether it be on your toenail, your heart, your lungs, your knees, there's always going to be some sort of risk with surgery. So, I mean, if you're worried about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think too from like a dietitian perspective, I try not to speak like too much on this topic because I have not the best experience when it comes to bariatric surgery, because when I used to work in the hospital, I would only see the people that like had really bad complications. And I was always told from my other dietitian friends who worked in bariatrics that there's like a whole other side of it that I never see. But I just saw like some of the scariest, craziest things with complications of bariatric surgery. So all that being put out there, I will say that it's like still not like 100% a solution. I mean, I saw a lot of patients in the hospital, and I've had clients in our program that have gained all the way back from weight loss surgery to go through the surgery and then still to have the possibility of gaining the weight back can be just a lot to go through. And if you're already kind of able to do it on your own, I feel like I would still say like, let's just keep going too. But that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. And I wonder, the weight loss that he had earlier, like how fast did he lose it at?
True.
I mean, was it like it took him forever to do that? Or was that like a safe or unsafe way that he did it? Side note, remember how you were saying that you always saw like complications of bariatric? I kind of feel that way about just all like fields of medicine in general. Because like most people, they refer their patient who has a problem with this to this. So everyone thinks that like every specialty is like so difficult or has so many failures because they see everyone's like problems. That's something that I've like recently been thinking about too, that, of course I have like a kind of a bad outlook on this because I only see the bad part of it.
Yeah, true. Because like if they're healed and they do great, they're never going to come back to the hospital.
Yeah, and then just like you said, like if they did well with bariatric surgery and they didn't gain all their weight, they're never going to talk to you because they're like,
exactly.
Yeah.
So then you just like never know. Do you feel like there's any other reasons why his doctor wouldn't want him to get the surgery, or do you feel like you kind of already spoke to that with all the other stuff you said?
Yeah, I don't know. I really would have to watch the episode to see why he wouldn't want him to get it. But I know that with certain surgeries, you have to be at like a certain weight. I really don't know about bariatric surgery, but like for us, that's a thing, right? You have to be at a certain weight. So I think that they have to be at a certain weight too. Also, based on the show, I've seen like little bits and pieces of it. I know that he like wants them to be at certain weights before he does it. I don't know.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah. And I feel like doctors in general, well, from what I heard, the benefits that it can be really successful for those that really need it. I think that it's another just help, like the way that it really works from what I understand is that it decreases your appetite because it's kind of shrinking the amount that you can put in your stomach. And so for those that really need that help to get A1C down is what I hear a lot of times from other bariatric dietitians that helps the most with that. So
yeah.
That could be, but again, we're all just like speculating as to why they all want him to get the surgery so badly. And I hope it helps people out there because I get a lot of questions about this topic.
I know there are different kinds, right? Like different kinds of bariatric surgery. It probably depends too on like why you're getting it. If it's just on weight loss or if like if you have acid reflux or your diabetes is getting out of hand, like things like that. I'm sure there are different things like medically to consider too. So maybe he has other stuff he has to think about.
That's a good point because if he like has having some sort of detrimental health effects, say from like gastric reflux that we've done another episode on, that can eventually lead to cancer if it's untreated. So that would definitely be a reason to get it as opposed to not. So just an example of how that benefit could outweigh any risks of surgery in general. So this month, we're talking all about the health habits you should and shouldn't be adding to your spring health regimen. And adding more produce should for sure be a health habit that you add in. I know that one difficult part about adding in produce is constantly being busy. So I have a solution for you. It is Bada Bean, Bada Boom, Crunchy Broad Bean Snacks. They are roasted broad beans and come in flavors including sweet onion and garlic, mesquite barbecue, and zesty ranch. These are for sure the Millennial Nutritionist approved because they're only 100 calories while containing 6 grams of protein and 4 grams of fiber because they're a bean. Plus, they're actual produce, not like a powder or some sort of manufactured fruit product. It's really just a bean that's been roasted, flavored, and put in a snack bag. My favorite thing about them is that they're a produce item that you don't have to keep cold, so they're really portable. You could put them in your car, you could put them in your pocketbook for those times when you either forget to have produce or you're out and about and you don't know where to get it. One real life example is my mom came to visit me recently and we did some sightseeing around the big city of Dallas. So I knew we would need some produce items throughout the day or it probably just wouldn't get eaten. So I packed some of these bean snacks. Both she and my mom thought that they were so good. David really liked the sriracha flavor the best, and my mom really liked the sea salt flavor, just to highlight how many really cool flavors they have. And my mom actually ordered them in that moment to be shipped to her house in North Carolina, just as a testament of how tasty they are. I actually found them, the Bada Bean, Bada Boom bean snacks, on my own when I was at Aldi in that special section. So they aren't there anymore, but I bought them and was so surprised about how good the flavors were. My favorite flavor is the sweet onion and mustard. They remind me of those like honey mustard pretzels that you would get as a kid at like friends' parties and stuff, and then like just never have them regularly. I showed them on a grocery haul, and Bada Bean, Bada Boom reached out to me to give y'all a discount code. So you can order them online now at www.badabeensnacks.com/themillennialnutritionist, and make sure to use the code themillennialnutritionist and make sure to spell it right. We'll put it in the show notes. And put in the Millennial Nutritionist code at checkout to receive 15% off. Make sure you order them online because I really can't find them in any other stores now that they're gone off of Aldi. But order them and stop letting busyness be the excuse as to why you're not eating enough produce. All right, so now transitioning into what I actually wanted to talk to you about today, which is basically why we should be healthy for surgery and anything we should know that is health, nutrition, weight related to surgery outcomes. So go ahead and take it away. What should we know before we have surgery? Like, what is important for health status, nutrition status, weight status before having surgery?
Just to preface though, like I'm speaking from like an orthopedic standpoint and what we need our patients to be. I'm sure that like other specialties require like, different things from their patients. In general though, before surgery, you want to be as healthy as you can. Like for instance, for us, we have a BMI cutoff for our patients. So if our patients have a BMI above 40, then we won't do their surgery. Just a lot of studies have showed that if you have an increased BMI, especially at the 40 mark or above it, you just have like increased risk of complications, like during, after surgery, you have increased risk of infection and just like not doing well in general. There's a lot of complications that are just linked to having a high BMI. So we all have that cutoff at 40. And interestingly, I did learn, like, I used to think that it was just my office that had that cutoff. And then I learned that other surgeons had that cutoff. And then I learned that the hospital actually has that cutoff because they're not willing to let you have the surgery if they already know that you're not a good candidate. So they don't want to put themselves on the line if they think that you're also not going to do well. I recently learned that insurance also won't let you do it. So I recently had a patient who really, really wanted to do the surgery. Sometimes we'll make exceptions just based on like the leg. Like, I know that sounds cruel, but just the leg size of the patient. So sometimes we'll just make those kind of exceptions, but that person actually didn't get approved because their insurance didn't approve them, because it's such widely known and it's such common knowledge that if you have an increased BMI, that you have risk, that even insurance now doesn't let you do it. So they sent me a message back and said, this person's surgery of like a hip replacement or knee replacement is not approved because their BMI is so high. So in order for them to have the surgery, they need to bring their weight down. One, they have to have evidence of that in the office. Two, they have to have like an exercise plan. So I either have to talk to them about it or they have to go to like physical therapy and do it. Even if we wanted to, there's so many reasons why we can't.
Interesting. Do you have patients that do come back and lose the weight? Like, is that a high rate of people who return, or do they
We
go away and
actually
never see them?
do.
Oh, good.
Some people have like, they're so motivated by their like knee pain or their hip pain that they're like, no, I have to get this done. And they'll go to a nutritionist or a dietitian. They'll go to bariatric surgery. Yeah, a lot. We even have some patients who like go to bariatric surgery so they can have their knee replaced.
Oh, wow.
We do have people who lose weight or go to surgery to lose weight so that they can get it done.
Do you know like any of the specifics of what the negative outcomes can be if you are higher weight?
Of just having the increased weight. I think in general, like people with increased weight, you just have a lot more medical problems in general, and also like poor blood flow. And with like healing of wounds and just healing from surgery, you need that good blood flow and nutrients to wherever you had it. Because basically for us, like the surgery that we're doing is a controlled injury that we did to you. So like, why do we want to put you in a worse position than you started with,
Gotcha.
So another thing for us is we also have an A1C cutoff. So we have a cutoff of 8, which apparently is very nice because other people have a cutoff of 7.5, 7, and even 6.5. Yeah. I've seen people not be able to have surgery. Like this is mainly in the West Coast that I've seen, because I went to like conferences and I've noticed that I thought this was interesting actually, like different demographics, they Like I've seen some places have 6.5, 7. And then here, like my doctor, he does 8. So it just
Wow.
depends on the person. Yeah. But again, it's the same thing as having increased weight. You just increase risk of like infection and just not doing well. Same thing.
Okay, yeah. And for those who don't know, A1C is a measurement over like a couple of months of your blood sugar level. And so a lot of times this just is applicable to diabetics, right?
I think it's 3 months that it's like
3 months.
the average of your sugars in the last 3 months or something.
Yeah, yeah. So it's not just like if anybody like is just normal out there listening, it probably wouldn't
Oh
apply to
yeah.
you.
If you're not diabetic, like don't worry about this. This is not like something that
Yeah. No, it's still good to know. And then anything else that we should know if you're like contemplating a surgery, like what you should kind of what your doctor might be screening for before you get surgery.
yeah. As far as nutrition and just health goes, I know you're gonna like cry, but we check pre-albumin. We as in like, I don't know, it's just a hospital thing. A lot of
Yeah.
people check pre-albumin. Like Isla's having dietitian tears right now.
It's okay. It's
Can you
okay.
explain about the pre-albumin though? Like how you guys don't use that anymore?
Yeah, we don't use it because let's see, the clinical dietitian in me can remember. You'll always have a negative outcome with albumin because it's a stress response, and typically anybody that goes in the hospital is stressed out, even if you're just like hyped up, stressed out. And so
Oh, okay.
it's not always like I think
Like
old school
false.
thinking was that it meant like infection or it meant like you were malnourished. Where now they've done a lot of work to realize that people who are perfectly well nourished can still have an off albumin or pre-albumin level. I mean, it still can show inflammation. So maybe we'll maybe give your hospital the benefit of the doubt.
If it makes you feel any better, it really is not a super big deal or anything. They just give the patients Ensure drinks
Oh, okay.
just because they want the patient to be like as nutritional as possible. Like, so, just a lot of people don't get their full nutrition throughout the day and stuff. So right before surgery, they have the patients drink it once or twice a week or something like that. I didn't know. I thought Ensure was all like those milky drinks. I didn't know that they had clear ones too.
Yeah, I was gonna say that
Actually,
later on.
yeah, I actually learned that from the book, The
Oh,
Pregnant.
no
Yeah,
way.
I know. She was talking about, well, I don't want to ruin it for you, but
Yeah.
she mentioned it like, oh, we found these clear Ensure drinks, and I was like,
At
I
H
didn't
Mart?
know about it at all.
Oh.
Nope, that's it.
Oh.
I'm anti spoilers.
Oh, I know, because I'm thinking like what kind of patients I would give those to, so I can imagine what that is in the book. Okay, what about during surgery? What are some things to think about as far as like nutrition, weight status in the middle of surgery?
So even like right before you're about to go under, it depends on what kind of anesthesia you get. But I actually recently asked the anesthesiologist how like BMI, weight, and just body habitus affects the anesthesia.
Mhm.
So if they're trying to intubate, it's actually really hard to visualize or to see with just like if you have a lot of weight here in your neck. So
Mhm.
like when they look down, the tissue just kind of pushes against it. And so it's really hard to see where they're going, even with a light and a camera and stuff. So not only is it hard to get down there, it's also hard like to maintain it because it's once
Uh,
you get it down there, it's pushing against it the whole time. So it's hard to get it down there. It's hard to maintain it. And also it's hard like when you take it out too. So basically, you just this kind of goes hand in hand too with anyone who has like sleep apnea. That's
mhm.
something like to talk to your anesthesiologist if you have surgery about that because they need to know those kind of things to make sure you're breathing still, basically.
Gotcha, gotcha. So could be another reason for that like BMI cutoff.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's really why we do it, but that's probably something that anesthesia cares about a lot for just how much they have to like really pay attention to you. Because I mean, you can lose an airway like super fast.
Yeah, and that makes sense. It's just like the physical like status or the physical tissue that's on your neck with extra fat can cause you to not be able to breathe, which would be pretty bad in the middle of surgery or after. What about anything
Yeah.
else?
I was thinking about, I never realized this. I was just looking into like papers and stuff if anesthesia in general had any other problems with it. But I never thought about, so after they wake you up, right? Like after you're coming out of surgery, most surgery is like somewhat painful from something, right? Like if you had an incision or if you had some kind of camera somewhere, you usually get like pain medicines, right? So a lot of opioids like depress, it's like difficult to breathe or, they're like depressive. They depress ventilation basically.
Mm,
So you have the combination of the opioid pain medicine plus your like neck just makes it hard to breathe. So then that's something they have to like extra pay attention to.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, I never
Yeah.
thought about that. I always know the opioids with constipation, but I didn't know about the breathing thing.
Yeah, I didn't really think about it either. Well, like when people have like overdose on opioids and then they're like unconscious
Yeah.
and they wake up with Narcan. Yeah. So it's just like a natural thing that it depresses your ventilation. So I never thought about like, oh, you just woke up from surgery, so it hurts, and here's opioids, but also like you're already having a hard
Oh,
time breathing.
interesting. Interesting. Anything else we should know during surgery?
Another thing that like why body habitus matters too is it can make it really hard to like visualize in surgery because like for us when we're doing like a hip replacement or something, your hip is like really far in there, and so having just like a lot of tissue makes it hard to see and just hard to
Mm,
do. So like we even have to get like different tools for like patients who have just like a lot of excess like fat and things like that. So like our tools are bigger and it just like we have to pull on them harder and just stress you at the patient more. So just things to think about, like visualizing what we're doing and like holding tools and then what we're putting in there. So it makes it a little hard sometimes.
would that like have any negative outcomes, or you're saying that's just like hard on you, but it's fine for the patient?
I mean, if it's hard for the surgeon, isn't it hard? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
like I don't want to say that the surgeon will make a mistake, but it's like
it
it's more,
increases that risk.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. What about after surgery? Already got the surgery or whatever surgery you're getting. What should we know about like post surgical nutrition needs or anything like that?
You wanna just be more like, just have a nutrient dense diet, just to help with that, like what we were talking about earlier with the wound healing and stuff like that, because you just can't heal well if you're not eating well,
Hmm.
because, I mean, where is the nutrients gonna come from? And you want, like, blood flow and stuff like that. So
Hmm.
it's really hard for patients to do well when they're not eating. We had this one patient, we did her total knee, and then shortly after, she just kind of like she got really discouraged. She didn't really feel like doing, the therapy. She just was really tired. She stopped really eating. And then opioids also, like it's really when you're taking pain medicines, it's hard to get an appetite. Sometimes people get nauseous. So it was a combination of a lot of things. She probably wasn't in like amazing health before either. But yeah, and she just completely just had like failure to thrive, stop eating, stop drinking, stop, and she just like eventually was just bedridden.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is there anything that could have been like done to prevent that, or no, it just like happens?
I don't know. I think about it all. I think about her all the time actually and just wonder like the thing is before you have surgery, you have to get medical clearance. Like most not all of them, but a lot of it just depends on what kind of surgery you have. You get clearance from your primary care to say
Mm.
that you are safe, you are healthy, you can have surgery. Sometimes they'll say you're cleared, but you're still at risk for these things. So I wonder if she had other problems that we just like didn't know about or they somehow got worse like from just the stress of surgery.
Yeah, I would say that sometimes, yeah, in the hospitals, like mostly with like older people, for some reason they would just like decide to stop eating, and it was crazy. Because
Yeah.
you need to eat to live, and it was really sad.
Yeah.
But
It's so hard because, like, you just can't heal when I mean wounds, by the way, I just mean, like, like, when you have a surgery and you just cut on the skin, like, that's what I mean by the wound, but also you can develop a wound too, right? Like,
oh yeah,
it doesn't heal well, things like that. Sometimes, when we have, like, wounds develop, I just get so stressed out, I don't know what to do. I literally call my mom because
oh
my mom is a, wound care nurse, and
oh,
she's
I didn't know that.
great. Yeah, my mom my mom always does wound care stuff, which, ugh, like,
Yeah.
when I see wounds, I just get stressed out. I don't know what to do. My mom lives for that stuff. She's just like, Take a picture, send it to me." Obviously, I asked
Ugh.
I know. I asked for the patient's, permission,
Right.
but, yeah. So
And what does
I
she say?
will
How does
tell
she
my
say to heal a
mom.
wound?
My mom will tell me, like, a combination of things, like, "Does it look like this? Put this on it, blah, blah, blah," but it is an art. That is very hard. Like, even if you have, like, the best wound care nurse ever, you still have to eat well and do these things, so you're
Yeah.
stressed.
Can you tell us a little bit more about like what it takes to heal a wound? Like how would nutrition even play a part in that? Because I don't think a lot of people realize that that is important. Because we get a lot of clients that have C-sections and they can potentially have poor wound healing if they're not eating enough protein. So can you tell a little bit more
Oh,
about that?
yeah. It's hard because I actually, my cousin is having a hard time with her C-section wound. Some people are just more prone to having problems.
Mhm.
Apparently, it's more common amongst women, like if you keloid or just like having certain have you ever had keloid or do you know what those are? So
Mm-mm.
if you might have seen it before, like sometimes when people scar and then it gets a little big, like they get like a bump
Oh
over it.
yeah.
Yeah. So apparently women are more prone to that. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's Asian women and African American women.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So some of it is genetic. Like I think some of it is just a genetics maybe, but in general, you want to just like eat, good because if it can't heal itself if it has nothing to work with.
Especially for the population you deal with, there's a lot of physical therapy. Does nutrition play a part in that?
Yeah, for sure. I actually recently had a guy who was having such a hard time doing his physical therapy because he's not really eating that much. And then he also struggles a little bit with his blood pressure just fluctuating so much. So he wasn't eating well. And then every time he got up, his blood pressure just like he had really low blood pressure. And again, that might be other problems, but it doesn't help that he's not eating, right? So he
Mm.
was just not eating at all, not have enough energy for physical therapy. And physical therapy is important for before and after surgery too. So if you don't have enough energy to do that, I mean, you're just, you know,
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah. So you're talking a little bit more too about like the under eating aspect. So it's not just like anybody who like isn't at a really high BMI is at risk. It's even people who like aren't eating enough.
yeah, because we've had patients before too that are really, really small. That was also unsafe too, because a lot of people who undereat, they have poor bone health. I mean, it's actually brittle, like it's like paper thin. So it's
Wow.
really, yeah, it's really, you really don't think that your bones are that weak until you see like it crack, like it was so thin. So I mean, it's really important to be in that healthy medium for you,
Mhm.
we had a patient one time who, after surgery, so something that you can get is called ileus, and basically you've seen that before, right? Yeah, we had that one time, and I was like so stressed out, I didn't know what to do. But the patient, I think she ended up getting like a bowel obstruction, so then she had to have surgery and everything to take out her bowel obstruction.
Yeah, that would be one of the only times that we really, yeah, interacted with ortho is if something like that happened. And sometimes it had to go on like tube feeding, TPN, or all the things. All right, so we got some audience questions too. So one of them was, are the post-op low-calorie diets safe? What do you have to say to that?
Probably ortho wise, like for us, that's probably not something that we would say because I just was talking about, like, literally was talking about how it's so important to eat and to have all the energy to do physical therapy and stuff like that. So for us, we wouldn't tell people like don't limit your calories. But I'm sure that other specialties do. Like I would imagine, I've never worked in GI, but I would imagine that they probably have like a step of like, week one you do this, week two you do this. I don't know though. What about you?
Yeah, yeah, this might fall more in my realm too. Yeah, we typically, yeah, I guess the hip people we used to work with wouldn't have it, but it seemed like most other surgeries we would have a progression of like clear liquids to thin liquids to thick liquids to full liquids to blah blah all the things. And it is safe. It's safer. The whole point of them doing that is so you don't get this ileus or this obstruction in your bowels that then causes you to like have to have another surgery. And the way they can mitigate that is by making sure you're not putting anything too big in there at first. It's just I don't really know the connection between surgery and why that happens sometimes. But that's why they're kind of making sure you do that. But that's the reason that you want to have a dietitian in the hospital because they're going around and constantly making sure that you're not going on too long without eating, which just speaks to why it's also not a benefit to be like the thinnest person possible because you want to have fat reserves for
Yes,
something
yeah,
like this.
yeah.
Because you should be able to afford to have like a couple of days of not eating a lot. And that comes to those like Ensure Clear liquids I would give out. I would like try to
I
figure out
can't believe I
like,
didn't know that was a thing. I only
yeah.
knew about the milk ones. I
Yeah.
don't
And
know.
there's Jello ones too, because I always give those to my clear
What?
liquid people.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I would eat the Jello.
Yeah, so a dietitian would help. If somebody had to be on this for like multiple days, like the clear liquid one, then that they would get protein through that. So there's always somebody really watching out if you're in a good hospital with a good team. The second question was any perspective on bariatric weight loss surgery. We got like most of the questions were about this. So like anything you can give us from your perspective would be great. So tell us anything.
I mean, for me, again, I really don't see it a lot. The only time I've ever seen it is like a patient will go to get it. Like they say that they go to get it and then so that they can come back and have their hip or knee replaced. But I've actually, now that I think of it, I've not seen one single person do that.
Oh,
Like we refer them to bariatrics all the time. I don't know if they're just not getting the referral or what, but in my, couple of years of being there, I don't think I've ever seen anyone come back and be like, "Hey, I just had the bariatric surgery. I'm ready
oh.
to go." I'm not saying that is not a bad thing. I've just actually never seen them come back. I've had patients who I didn't know them before their bariatric surgery and they had it and told me that they had weight loss. So I think it really just depends on why you want it, your other medical problems, and just like working with your doctor, the bariatric surgeon, and also your primary care, to see what works for you.
Yeah, I know from a dietitian standpoint, there are different types of bariatric weight loss surgeries. And one thing that a lot of people don't realize is like if your different parts of your stomach absorb different vitamins and minerals. So if a different part of that is gone or restricted, you have to supplement. And so there is a lot of aftercare for the rest of your life if you do get bariatric surgery. Really random. I don't think I told you this in our real life, but there is a dog here and he had to get some sort of like gastric surgery because his hair, he's a poodle and his hair's straight.
Oh, that's so sad.
But part of the stomach that got cut out was the part that like makes the curls. And so his hair is like straight as a poodle. I know, because I asked him, I was like, why does your dog's hair look like that if it's a poodle? And he's like, yeah, part of that stomach got cut out. And so like, it's really interesting.
What?
Yeah, because
so the part of the dog that keeps their hair curly,
like his stomach, I think he like swallowed a sock or something and like had to get it cut out.
And then surgery. Oh my God.
And so the part of his stomach that absorbs that vitamin that causes hair to do that, it got cut out.
Okay, ladies, watch out.
I know, but I mean, it's not like it's a problem. You have to supplement. But what I would end up seeing in the hospital were people that weren't on their supplements and then would become malnourished and all their hair would fall out because they weren't taking that medication or they weren't taking that supplement. And so just to say, it's definitely not a quick fix because it's a surgery. But I think
it's definitely a commitment.
Yeah. It's a whole surgery. So there's a lot.
I mean, I've met people who do well and I have met people who haven't. So I have no idea. But
yeah. Well, what are some actionable tips that people can take away from this information? Give us 1 to 2. Like we have all this information. We might be afraid that we're not nutritious enough for surgery, but what can we do about it?
Just to have a nutrient dense diet in general, before surgery and after surgery. Some people only think about one or the other, depending on what kind of surgery they're having, but your health before and after makes a really big impact on like how well you do with surgery in general.
Yeah, which speaks to like why y'all recommend why you check the pre-albumin before and then give the supplements in nutrition. And having enough calories really helps with the wound healing and all those things. That definitely makes sense. What about one other thing we can take away from this?
I would also say to try to aim for your healthiest like weight goal. Not that I don't like for people to like focus specifically on their weight just because, I want you to just feel healthy in what you are and not chase a number. And I also know BMI, a lot of people feel like kind of conflicted about it, feeling that it's a little outdated. But in general, you don't want to have too high of a BMI. You don't want to have too low of one either, because both ends of the spectrum put you at risk, right? So don't feel like, oh, I'll be fine if I just lose all the weight and I'm like skinny, but also, so you just have to find that healthy medium for you.
Yeah, I think I love that. I feel like that's exactly what we were kind of saying throughout the whole thing is there are complications if you're really, really, really obese on this really one end of the spectrum, but it's also not safe for you to also be super underweight. You've got to find that in the middle. So I think that is great. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Vi. I think this was really informative for people going through whatever surgeries that they're having. And so make sure to sign up for our email newsletter so that you do not miss any of the content that we put out between podcasts, YouTube videos, blog posts, Instagrams, all the things. But thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for listening to the Millennial Nutritionist Podcast. For daily weight loss tips and nutrition information, you can find us on Instagram at the.millennial.nutritionist and on TikTok at millennial.nutritionist. If you find this information helpful, please subscribe to the podcast and share it with a friend who needs encouragement on their health journey. See you in the next episode.